And what do we do when we take an L? We choke on our bourbon, evidently. No
We drink
scotch for us, man.
no trash bourbon.
Only winners drink scotch.
That's
Tonight we're
right.
drinking bourbon. All right, so
Welcome to the
cheers.
Meltdown Show.
Yes. And boy, what a show it's going to be. It's finally going to live up to its namesake because,
Hmm.
uh, man, the Aggie fandom, they aren't taking it well.
They are not.
And we're here to talk through that tonight. We'll provide a little bit of counseling for the Aggie faithful out there because we tried to tell you. We tried to tell you last week.
We
It
did.
wasn't going to go well.
The warning signs were there. And I tell you where, you know, because look, I think you and I track kind of the same. Sunday and Monday, it's all realism and stats and analysis and as the week goes on, you just let the Kool-Aid flow, man. It
That's right.
starts with a nice little IV drip, and then you are shotgunning Kool-Aid Friday night, and Saturday rolls around, and and then I found out Saturday that Layden Robinson wasn't going to go, and that popped that balloon pretty early. Uh, but I don't want to put it all on that just because I know we had tons of problems. But that was the first like indication of like, yeah, like if because we said you've got to get the O line right this week, or we are in
Had to.
big trouble with this team.
Big trouble.
And there was no getting it right if Layden Robinson wasn't part of the equation.
Absolutely. And,
Oh.
uh, you know, yeah, we said last week we both picked Arkansas. We said Arkansas is probably, going to win that football game. But we had a couple days to talk ourselves into it. Like you said, the offensive line's got to get right. And look, that we need to explain to people why that's so important, right? Because going into this season, the biggest question mark for this football team was the quarterback and the offensive line. And those two things, very talent rich. And Jimbo talked all offseason how he thought that those groups were going to see a huge upgrade in talent, but it had to start working. And so you go into fall camp with Haynes King, you go into fall camp with Layden Robinson and Luke Matthews and Kenyon Green and Aki, and you've got this new guy, transferring in on the start. They're going to start working together. And you're starting to build that continuity. And as soon as the season started, all of that continuity just went right out the window. That effort, right? So then you're just trying to patch things in, and you lose your quarterback, right? And so the things have started to snowball. And so as the week went on and we got closer to Saturday, we usually try to, like you said, we try to talk ourselves into, oh, well, Aggies will win by 2 touchdowns. Man, I did not get that feeling at all. I got further and further and further away from feeling like A&M could win that football game. Could is not the right word.
Yeah, was
Likely to win
going
that
to
football
win.
game.
Right.
Yeah. And look, yeah, as soon as Layden Robinson was out, huge red flag. Caleb Chapman's not going to be back. Um, she started hearing about, shoot, totally blanking. Chase Lane is not going to play. We didn't
Hmm.
find that out until Saturday morning either. Right. So now we're down three more starters on an offense that is already struggling to get it together. And th- Jimbo's offense, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot about this, you have to have your guys. You have to be practicing. It's all about reps, 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 especially with a quarterback who's already shown you he ain't just going to walk out there and it's going to happen.
Right.
So, by the time
And
kickoff rolled around, not good.
yeah. And against a defensive coordinator that we knew was going to have a plan.
Hmm.
We've been warned about that all week as well. That this guy, he will game plan. He's going to make your freshman quarterback very uncomfortable and make him prove that he can do it. And he didn't respond very well, to be honest. Uh,
He
and
didn't
I think that's
respond
the
well.
theme of the game as well, because we've talked a lot about the offensive line for weeks now and leading up to it. And then to start the show, look, the offensive line was not good all game. it went from bad to worse because the makeshift offensive line that you rolled out there to start the game didn't make it through the entire game. You had several guys. I think you said Trainer played three positions.
Three
Is
different
that right?
positions on Saturday. Yes.
Yeah, and that's a guy that you didn't. He wasn't part of your plan to start the game anyway, and now he's being thrown into the fire. But and so obviously it was bad. But look, it was a team effort all the
Wow.
way
It
around
was. It
because
was.
when the offensive line did block, guys danced around too much. Your quarterback missed open receivers, either wouldn't throw the ball or just didn't throw it accurately. Or when he did, your receivers dropped it. Like, or we had penalties. And so
Huge
it was just
penalties.
nothing went right.
No,
Nothing went
and
right.
there were guys on the perimeter, not on the offensive line, that completely failed to block in the run game. John Harris
Mhm.
did an amazing job. You said you couldn't stomach to go review it. I don't know if you did or not, but John
No.
Harris did an amazing job on his blog. We'll tweet it. He charted all 69 snaps that we had on offense. And I can't tell you the number of times he called out 0 and 85 for
Mm,
completely missing their blocks. Completely. They had terrible days. Days, and those were plays that when the offensive line actually did do their job, actually did secure the block
hmm
and the play was there, and a safety or a corner or a linebacker completely goes right past those guys
hmm
and takes out our running back for a loss or for minimal gain. It just goes back to what you said: team effort. The other thing with number 10 is he felt pressure when there wasn't pressure
Right.
several times, where he completely bailed on a play early. Uh, and, to make matters worse, he has a habit of when he feels pressure, he either backs up or he starts taking off laterally. He's not working his way up in the pocket away from the pressure coming from the outside. He is feeling things that are not there.
hmm
And that's equally concerning because he doesn't have the speed or the mobility, despite Jimbo trying to tell us he's got some athleticism. Yeah, he does. He doesn't have
It's not the
enough.
same.
It's not the same,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have that to rely on to escape. So it was bad, and wow, you know, I don't. I think that's why when I see the reaction out there amongst the Twitter faithful and the message boards and people at work and fans of other schools who I've encountered a lot in the last 72 hours.
Mm.
Their eyes were like, I can't believe this happened. This was a huge shock. Where do we go from here? We got to burn it all down. Guys, calm the blank down. Realize what's going on in this football team and don't panic because look, you actually went out and hired the guy who can restore a football team who goes through something like this
Right.
because he is dedicated to what he does. He is dedicated to practice and reps. He's not just going to flush the game plan out the window and go, run the wishbone or go to a spread attack when the other thing isn't working. There's no panic in Jimbo Fisher. Okay. And guess what you get out of that? What do you get as a football team out of that? You get
I
a
don't know.
team. No, you get a team that in November is a hell of a lot better than the one in September. Okay? Every single time. Go back and look at Florida State and go back and look at the year when they lost their quarterback and they lost a million dudes in the first part of the season. And they were losing football games left and right. But go back and look at what happened at the end of that season. Go look at the run they went on to finish and what they did in their bowl game. They were a much better football team. They were beating people like a drum by the end of the year. And that's what he does. That's what he does.
That's what he does, and I think that's an important point. One, we'll get into this later, but I don't foresee things here going as badly as they did for that 2017 Florida State team, number one. So, hopefully we'll get it back on track here in the next few weeks. But number two, make no mistake. that was a much better team at the end of the year than it was at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
Um, that that um, that was playing hard for his coach all the way to the end of the year, finished strong despite rumors about their coach leaving, right? Swirling the
Yep.
last couple weeks of the season. And don't let any of these fools from other schools try to tell you that Jimbo left Florida State in this pile of rubble. He left that school with a pile of top five classes and a crapload of talent, and they flushed it away because they're idiots and they thought the program was bigger than the coach, and they're still paying the price for that now. A few of them are waking up to it, but a lot of them are still
Yes.
delusional about it, and it matters. And the this guy is special. He is rare in college football.
No, absolutely. And, we've said it a million times. Trust Jimbo. Okay? Now, look, it
We
may
also
not
don't
look
have any
great.
choice.
Well, that's true. Hey, fair enough. But look, I have no reason to sit here and hit that panic button or feel, upset about what really transpired on Saturday, because my expectations going into that game were rational, they're real. Okay. And I'll give you a perfect example. This made me crazy all week. Okay. Very prominent member of the media, content creator extraordinaire who follows this football team and is a conduit to the program. Okay. Uh, and
Okay.
beautiful hair these days, by the way. This gentleman, I love him. I love everything he does. But he sat there all week and said A&M has to show up on Saturday and play the best game that they have played all year by far. And if they don't, they're going to have real problems. Okay? That is a true statement.
Hmm.
And then that same individual repeatedly picked A&M to win the football game. Okay? On every media show, whatever, went out. And I just had a huge problem with that. I do. Because that sets an expectation that A&M is going to go out and play their very best football team, despite the the chaos within the offense only increasing throughout the week as you lose
Right.
more and more players. And we said it several times last week. Okay, we know they can play better, but we haven't seen it yet.
Right.
Okay, so you're totally relying on something you haven't seen and something that's completely far less likely the more information you get. So why on earth would folks go into that game expecting to win? But I'll tell you this, everybody did. The national perspective, fans of other schools, when we lost that football game, it was like, I can't believe that happened. Well, it did, guys. And you know what? It's going to be okay. All right? We're going to be fine. Okay? One of the reasons we're going to be fine is because of what happened on the other side of the field. Okay, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't A plus, right? But the defense stood up and gave the football team a chance to win, and they're going to do that almost every week. All right,
Yep.
they're gonna buy that offense some time, and like you said, it's not going to get as bad as it was at Florida State in 2017 because of what that defense can do. It is going to buy time.
Yeah. I'm still frustrated with how the defense played early on because a couple of those big plays, well, the touchdown, I don't know about that, but some of the big running plays, big chunks of yardage that they gave up
Yeah.
early that led to us getting into that, was it 17-point hole, were kind of bad effort plays. And as the game went on, yeah, that defensive line started terrorizing the Arkansas
Yes.
offense and took over the game, and that's great. And what was that? 2.5 quarters of well under 100 yards total, I think, for Arkansas. It was not. It was very tough sledding for them, but I do think those miscues early, uh, along with the problems we were having with personnel and everything on offense, didn't help to put the offense behind the eight ball like it did, and I think cause a little bit of panic. Uh, on the part of really the entire offense.
Yeah, I'm
I
after.
mean, I'm not going to lay it on their feet. I just,
Yeah,
we need to see it cleaner earlier.
well, I agree with you, right? They need to be able to come out and do like what Georgia does, right? And I honestly, I think we're probably another class or two away from just being able to do that. And the that is a big physical, experienced offensive line for Arkansas who knows what they're doing.
Hmm.
Ton of fifth year seniors on that offense, and they could only get it done for a quarter.
Right.
And the reality is yeah, they gashed us for some running plays, but they scored on two huge passing plays.
Hmm.
One, which look, one on one on the outside, big physical wide receiver who had the perfect instant in the route, created the separation. Stiff
Hmm.
arms Miles Jones, gets the pass, beautiful pass, and we knew that was the threat. We knew that was
Hmm.
going to be the threat. We thought, hey, for the most part, we'll be able to limit what their running game can do, and they did. But it's the big plays. Can they hit them? They got one. The second touchdown was an inexcusable effort. Total. Oh, it was embarrassing. I was embarrassed by that play because guys who know how to tackle didn't make the play. And, that I feel like in some ways that play was the wake up call for the
Right.
defense. Like that did not meet our standard. And from then on, played like their hair was on fire and completely overwhelmed an offense that 2 weeks prior obliterated the other Texas school
Right.
in the state. So out physicaled them. We didn't get beat up. We
No.
did not get beat up. Gave up two big plays and another drive with the backup quarterback who brought a lot of speed to the field and kind of made up for what was starting to go bad. I thought that was a really interesting development with Malik
Yeah.
Hornsby.
I'll be honest though. And I got an Arkansas buddy I chat with every once in a while that, I've been telling him for months that I was afraid of Malik Hornsby. And
Yes.
that, because at the point when he came in, you kind of thought, if it's going to go our way today, like now's the moment that it needs to turn. And, it was after the Spiller touchdown run and everything. And I was like, oh, Hornsby, like he's such a total change of pace that I was afraid of what he might be able to do. But I thought our defense actually adjusted to that change of pace very quickly, all things considered. So I was very happy to
Yeah.
see that.
I think they got the one field goal out of it, with
Yeah.
him in there, and he was able to pick up a couple of first downs. He was able to get to edge and just use that speed to outrun our guys. And it's a rare talent that he has. I mean, him and the chain were on the same relay team in high school and set records. And kid can fly. So yeah, look, I thought the defense again. Yeah, they gave up 20 points. We do have to remember. I think one of those on the short field, basically after the extremely untimely and unfortunate interception that we're not quite sure was an interception, but they called it that way. So whatever. It was bad.
It was an interception.
Yeah,
I was
sure.
fine with the whole review process and everything.
Yeah.
So, except for maybe
Except
the
for the
targeting,
fact,
but
yeah, they missed the linebacker blowing up Spiller, and we even thought they had gone back to the cameras to review it. They reviewed the interception, they come back, they stop again, go back to the cameras. We thought, oh, surely they saw this. Uh, but I'm not all that convinced it would have mattered.
no, I'm not either.
Although, if you do go and look at the play-by-play for all of those last 3 to 4 series, Jimbo's right. It was starting to get going.
Yeah.
Uh, they once Green moved out to left tackle. I think Trainer ended up at right guard. Um, Feathery on the outside. Things actually started to move, both in the running game and in the pass protection. And Spiller had the long run. We got to talk about Spiller, but a lot of people complaining. Well, he never got another carry on the football field. Go back and look at those series and look at the down and distances and look at the mistakes that happened, the penalties. We
Hmm.
got behind the sticks very quickly on those last couple of drives. And when we didn't, we actually had a lot of success on first down. And then we'd pick up a first down, and then all of a sudden we'd find ourselves with a penalty right back behind, second 15, whatever, second. So I know folks were upset about that, but um, when you get behind the sticks like that, you're not gonna be running the football. Not down two scores either. Not that late. So I don't know. It didn't fit. I know people were frustrated, but we talked about the defense, but I said we got to talk about Spiller. Uh, that guy, that guy was the lone bright spot on offense for sure.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
He was
I don't
great.
know. Yeah,
Look, he was
look,
good. He was
he
good
was,
because how many times did he pick up 2, 3, 4 yards when it should have been a 3 yard loss?
yes, and I know we've praised Spiller for that over and over and over again because he's better than any other back in the country at doing that. But I feel like there were times where he turned 2 or 3 yards into 0 or -1 this week. For the first time ever watching him, I felt like um, he was dancing too much sometimes. And maybe that's an
Yeah,
unfair criticism because he was definitely right to do that plenty of times. That, like we said, the lanes weren't there quite often. Um, and I actually thought at times A Chain was running more effectively than he was, but at the same time, A Chain, and it wasn't all his fault, but some of it was in the passing game was one of the guys that sometimes put us behind the chains, and so you know, and like I said, it's not all his fault. I think his quarterback didn't get him the ball in a spot, to make him successful sometimes, but um, I don't know. There's plenty of blame to go around, but you know, Spiller was a bright spot sometimes, but I didn't think it was his best day for us.
no, I didn't think it was his best day, but look, I think when the line is struggling like it is, it's natural to not trust it and probably make 1 or 2 moves too many. I just think in total,
Hmm.
he saved more plays than he gave up on the day. Also caught a lot of passes out of the backfield. Caught him well. There were several more that could have been made had the ball been on time or not bounced off of a offensive lineman's head and off of a
Right.
linebacker into the waiting arms of a Arkansas secondary guy. So yeah, well, look, where do we go from here? Right? I mean, we said, hey, nobody panic. How good do you think this thing can get in the next 3 to 4 weeks? And what should fans really be expecting from this offense? I think we know what we're going to get from defense. I think by and large, what do you think's going to happen with this thing?
Well, I think number one, you mentioned Green moving to tackle, and I think things did improve from there. And I think going forward, Green and Fothery are our two best tackles. I
Yep.
don't know what's going to happen in the middle. We need Layden Robinson back. There's rumors of shakeups with Foster. I don't know if I agree with that. I think he might have to ride it out with that guy because when it's good, he mauls people.
Yeah.
He is a force. Now, when it's bad, it's real bad. He gets shoved back into the quarterback. But I think you've got to that if you want it to pay dividends here in 3 or 4 weeks, I think you got to roll with him. But we'll see. Um, but I think there are answers there on offensive line if we can get healthy and get some reps. We've got Mississippi State this week. I'm still not sure what to think about that. Alabama after that. It was kind of a pipe dream to think you might win that game anyway. So we're not that far off track, right? Like, yeah, you might start 4-2. Um, but I would think 3 weeks from now, you ought to see things gelling a little better. I think you can get past Mississippi State with Zach Calzada at quarterback, and and then I don't know. I mean, Um, like I said, we were disappointed with him in this game. We thought he felt pressure that wasn't really there at times. But if you can clean it up and give him some time, I think he'll be fine. And then who knows? Maybe Haynes King is back for the meaty part of the schedule late in the year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think you brought up some of the moves on the offensive line, and I think the big question. There's two questions: Does Layden Robinson get healthy? Can he come back? And what's going on with Luke Matthews? We don't know. I guess when we see Luke Matthews, we see him. Shoulder injury, those things for offensive linemen tend to linger. You pretty much have to sit out until it's good to go, 100%.
Hmm.
I think it could be really interesting. If Layden's out and Luke comes back, then Luke's your starting center, and does Bryce, slide over to
Move to
right guard?
guard.
You know, but either way, people need to understand what that means. Okay, you've already played 7 or 8 different offensive line combinations in 4 games. That's at least. Okay, and I'm not talking about cleanup duty. I'm talking about real game action when the game's on the
Hmm.
line. That'd be 9 and 10 possibly. So nobody should expect a miracle up front until it stabilizes.
Hmm.
It's one thing to plug one guy in, plug a backup into a spot, but you got guys moving all over the place like they were doing Saturday. Forget it. Not when you're trying to build a unit, and it's going to be frustrating. And the quarterback has to be able to deal with that. He's got to be able to stand in there and take some shots and throw the football where it needs to be thrown. Arkansas, they played that 3-5-3, and we kept saying, "Oh, they're not throwing it deep," and then you see the replay and you go, "Don't throw it deep." They got 3 guys that are covering both sides of the field and center field. And so what's going to happen if you do that? You're going to throw into double coverage. You absolutely will. And I don't know.
But you've got to
That's not.
run to get him out of that, and you've got
Yep.
to hit the underneath the windows that quite frankly were there. I mean, it's frustrating to see us dinking and dunking, but they were open, and Zach was just not cutting it loose.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. Um, Now we've got what, a 3-game sample size where he's played one cupcake and 2 Power 5 opponents. Um, but I think it's unfair to say against Colorado he didn't do that. You know, he was cut. He was 3 steps throwing it. Maybe it was a little late, off target. Guys weren't catching it, but I didn't see that as the issue that we saw this week, and it almost makes me think that, like we were warned about, Barry Odom, their defensive coordinator for Arkansas, did a great job of confusing him pre-snap,
Right.
and it was just deer in headlights the whole game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I didn't see as much staring down a guy.
no, it
I
was
just
just
saw as I'm studying for a calculus test the night before, and I've never even seen the book.
right.
Right? Like it was overwhelming at times. And you know what? And look, there were times where he executed the play. It's just you can't do it. 4 out of every 10.
No.
It's got to be at a higher percentage. And there were times where he read the play right, and the throw. I'm seeing some guys not making some catches too that absolutely got to be made. I'm seeing some guys
Hmm.
that that look like they're coming out of their breaks expecting a Haynes King ball, and it's a Zach Calzada rocket,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're a couple of inches shy of just making an easy catch, and instead they're coming out of their breaks and having to stretch their arms out or go a little higher, and it ain't clicking, you know. And I think the worst part about it was, and why it's hard to see it turning around quickly. Uh, Calzada had some pretty rough body language in that football game
Yeah.
too. You can tell, feeling the weight of the world, and when it's not clicking, like God dang it, man, just head down and very, you know, uh, Kellen never showed a lot of emotion. but his body language would tell you some things, especially in
Hmm.
big moments. Uh, but Zach's showing some emotion out there in kind of in a rough way, and I'm really worried about his confidence. That's a hard thing to get back.
Yeah, I would
So,
agree. Yeah.
uh,
Great pod.
great pod, man. But look, I
Well,
still say that. All that being said, even a week ago, I'm not picking them to beat Arkansas. Okay, but I would pick them to beat Mississippi State. I would.
okay.
I think they can come out and think they can play. Uh, you know, great defense. They can keep everything in front of them. They can frustrate Mississippi State, and they can score on that defense, and
Hmm.
and win a game. May not be by 2 touchdowns. It's gonna be tight. Everything's gonna be a struggle. Everything's gonna be a struggle for a while. But hang in there, everybody. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah, and yeah, look, you've got Mississippi State this week, then Alabama, um, then Missouri and South Carolina. All right, that's the next three out of the four are winnable with Zach Calzada at quarterback. I if you've got Layden Robinson healthy, I mean, I do worry about because what have we said in the SEC? There's no weeks off as far as the size and strength of the defensive lines you're going to face for the
Yep.
most part. You know, Missouri maybe, but you know, it's a meaty conference. All right, so and they are licking their chops watching the film of what the offensive line has done so far. So they are going to have to get better. I would say that our none of the games we've played so far are going to beat Mississippi State, but the gap between where we've been and where we need to get to beat Mississippi State isn't nearly as big as it was to get to where we had to beat Arkansas. So
Yeah.
um, and then after South Carolina, there's a bye, and you've got Auburn, and that's in the window where you might get Haynes King back. And
Yeah.
I hate to pin all your hopes on that because we've only seen Haynes King play a football game in a couple of series. But you do get the feeling that what Jimbo's trying to do just meshes better with what Haynes King brings to the table. And certainly his mobility meshes better with a makeshift offensive line. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's absolutely right. Well, and look, and I think there is a pattern here, going all the way back to the spring game too. The decision making, the decisive uh, mentality or approach that Haynes demonstrated on the field in the spring game and right on into game one. I feel
Mhm.
like he had a decent command of what he was doing and, uh, knew where to go with the football, was playing a game that Jimbo wanted him to play,
Mhm.
operating in the confines of the offense, but then also bringing the element of being able to run the football and the zone read and all of that. Uh, I just, tell me all the time, I think this offense looks different. It just looks different with him
Mhm.
because it's going to be called slightly, different. There's an element there that is missing, and one they probably spent a lot of time in fall camp working on with a unit that is by and large not there right now. So, if if you want to think about the season in two parts, that's it. It's pre-buy and post-buy, right? We may take a lump or two between now and that Auburn game, but I think the back half of the season is going to be different. It's going to look different, and people should have high expectations for that team. I think I said it in one of the tweets. This game does not change in the least what I think this team will look like at the end of the season. Just
Mhm.
doesn't. And everybody came in at high ranking. Well, the high ranking is predicated on Haynes King being a decent quarterback and an offensive line that could get it together early. Well, that guys, that was the justification for the ranking. We got a great defense. These parts, these new parts, yes, we don't know about them yet, but we think they can be good. Well, those two parts aren't even there. They're
Right.
not. Okay. So by the end of the season, you might have a top five football team. You might. Okay. So just like I said, don't panic. Hang in there. Uh, we're in survival mode, and hopefully get a little bit better mode, and then hopefully get a hell of a lot better mode.
And like you said, don't panic and don't expect it to don't expect it to look all that different over the next few weeks. It's going to be
Right.
a frustrating next few weeks. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit just because, you know, you kind of mentioned it that, look, Jimbo is who he is. So you're not going to see a ton of innovation the next few weeks or trying new guys or anything like that. Um, you know, trying crazy stuff with wide receivers or anything. He's gonna, for better or worse, be who he is, and that's gonna be frustrating in a year like this. It's gonna be great some years. It's gonna be awesome, but it's
It's
gonna be
gonna
very
be
frustrating.
awesome.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
is.
look, a question I saw over and over again on Twitter uh, that I thought was funny was where was Moose Muhammad? And look, there's just lots of hand wringing over the wide receiver position. I totally get some of it. Um, but to answer that question, where was Moose Muhammad? Understand, Moose Muhammad is an inside receiver, and he backs up Anais Smith. So the reason we saw Moose Muhammad against New Mexico was because Anais Smith was in street clothes for most of the game. And I know that's driving you crazy because the guy made plays and looked awesome, and then he disappeared. But that's the way this offense rolls, okay? And you can't just start, well, just put him on the field, play him anywhere. And by the way, that's not a Jimbo thing. That is a football thing. You have inside receivers and outside receivers, and sometimes with formation they flip them around and everything. But the assignments in the playbook are done that way. And so you can't just, oh, well, Moose is great, throw him outside for Chase Lane. It doesn't work that way. And so you're going to be very frustrated over the next few weeks. You might even be frustrated if Caleb Chapman comes back and you see less Demond Demas because Demond Demas backs up Caleb Chapman. And you're just going to be ticked off. So fair warning.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. It's going to look messy. It's going to look like a work in
Yeah.
progress, and you're not going to love the things that you see sometimes because we have a football coach who he's trying to accomplish exactly what we talked about. He knows where that football team can get to,
Yeah.
and he's trying to get it there, okay, the right way, and he's not going to give up on that.
No. And honestly, I'm not saying he's above criticism or even that
I'm not. I'm not.
it's the right way because look, I mean, more than not seeing Moose Muhammad, you know what I was frustrated about way more than that was how much we saw of 42 on the field
Mm,
because that was frustrating as hell. I don't think we got to talk about it against New Mexico, but you saw a lot of Baylor Cup in the second half of that game, and it looked to me like he was doing a good job in the blocking game. And you mentioned Ananias and 85 missing blocks in the run game. Dude, Max Wright, I, if he's your blocking tight end and he's getting the
H
reps
back.
because he knows um, the offense so well, I I don't get it. I'm not seeing it. I see that guy miss a lot of blocks.
Yeah, I don't get what's going on there either. Honestly, one of the if I was in the media room, in a post game or in the weekly press conference, and I got an opportunity to ask a question, honestly, it would have been, "Hey, was Baylor Cup healthy? Did he practice and was he ready to go for Saturday?"
Hmm.
And that's how the question would be asked. Hey, what was his status? Not why didn't he play? I
Right.
don't care. I just want, was he ready? Is he healthy? And I don't even, like you said, Moose Muhammad, totally different deal. We saw some Devin Price a week ago. Devin Price is out, not available, right? Made some good catches. But honestly, it wasn't our problem. you and I got frustrated because we saw a five trot out there. Guess what? Jalen Preston actually played pretty damn well.
He did. Hmm.
Made some great catches. He was where he was supposed to be, and blocked well. He did his job. Like you said, he's got the experience. He knows what he's supposed to do, and he got the nod, and he stepped up. The rest of it just wasn't there. This was not a Demon Demas kind of game. Wasn't gonna be. Not with the way that defense was playing us. Not at all. So it was a 85 kind of game, and that didn't work out. And it should have been a zero kind of game. And I didn't see, that just didn't happen enough either. So, yeah, whatever. Whatever, man. On to the next one. Mm, everybody grow a pair. Stop being such mm, babies.
Yeah, and I don't know how much you want to do on this, but part of the reason we keep saying that is because have you been paying attention to college football this year? I mean,
Who's good?
who's good? We asked the question last week. Who's good, and do you have any better idea this week than you did last week?
No.
Because I don't,
No.
not at
Don't
all.
know.
And and
Uh,
and look, I see Arkansas now basically swapped to places with us. They're now in the top 10 or whatever, and I have to say they didn't look like a top 10 team to me.
they
They look
didn't.
like a team that would typically finish, in the top 25, 20, 21. You know what I mean? Like by
Yeah,
the
like
end of the
fifth or
season,
fourth or fifth in the SEC West.
right?
Okay.
Which, by the way,
Oh,
still a great trajectory for them.
yes.
Like based on, I mean, Pittman's on. This is only his second year there,
Yeah.
so whatever. But like top 10, no way. But at the same time,
But who
you're
who's
looking
in the
around
top
college football.
10?
Well, who else are you going to put in that spot?
Right.
Like who
Yeah.
else has done as much as they've done? So, and I said the same thing like about us. I'm just sitting there watching the first three games going, we don't look like a top 10 team, but who else does?
Yeah.
Nobody
Iowa
does.
doesn't look like it.
No.
Oklahoma doesn't look like it. Clemson is in. What are they saying at Clemson right now? Clemson's
Oh man.
offense is in the toilet. Okay.
Mm.
There's a ton of teams in the toilet or trying to figure it out. The playoffs going to end up with Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina and you know and
Oh
frickin'
God.
Bama and Georgia. Oh
Yeah.
my God! So you said it. I was less impressed with this Arkansas team coming out of this game than I was going
Yeah.
in. I
Absolutely.
honestly was, and for them to jump up like that, and then all of a sudden the Georgia game is on national television, and they're going to have this huge spotlight on them going out to Athens. Georgia is going to just absolutely drill them. They're going to
Yeah.
drill them. And you know what? If Arkansas goes out and plays a hell of a football game and makes it close against Arkansas, I'll come back on here and eat some crow. I have no problem doing that. But I don't see it
No.
because, like what we said earlier, Georgia will jump all over your ass from
Hmm.
the very first snap. They've got the horses to do it from front to back, and so you ain't gonna get
Yeah.
anything done.
No. And by the way, it doesn't really mean Arkansas is not a good football team.
Exactly.
Like it's just the way it is playing against teams like that.
Yeah,
That's why we lost 50-20, whatever it was against Alabama last year. Like,
and somehow felt good about that too. By the way,
uh,
for some good reason, in a little.
yeah,
There were signs in that game. There were signs of what was
yeah,
to come. Okay, you
yeah,
could see something happened up front in that game. Anyway, you
yeah,
know what I mean. Yeah. All right, man. Screw it all. Damn it all to hell. Beat the hell out of Mississippi State.
yeah. And let's try to do this live after the game. Who knows? This would be an interesting one.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
It's getting tougher and tougher these days, but we'll try to make it happen.
It is. Yeah.
All right,
It's all my
guys.
fault and the little kids.
I got big kids back home this weekend too, so
Oh, wow.
we'll see what's
Both of them?
going on. Well, yeah, both of them will be here, man. College
Oh,
kid
wow.
is coming home for fall break.
Rock on.
So she's a nasty blue devil. She took off on us. It's
Smart
okay.
advance.
Smart advance. Yeah, exactly. Too smart for her parents. All right, guys. Have a great week. Like we said, don't panic. Hang in there. It's all gonna be okay. And we'll be back next week.